the folks from IMAGIO for this collaboration, and it is really unique. If you're creative in any aspect of your life, you're looking at ways to grow, to come up with new concepts. I mean, I've been a painter for 40, 50 years since college. Couldn't quite make it a career until a little later in life, but you know, I studied art in college, went to Eastern, I got my bachelor's in fine art, focused in watercolor, just loved that medium. Went on to work on a master's in it as well, and I learned through art history that great artists are always looking to expand, to push the envelope, to find new concepts, to just find an evolutionary approach to their work. And that's what I think, at least for me, keeps me interested year in and year out. And again, since 1970, and I still haven't lost the desire and the passion to do this work. And back when I was in college, I was introduced to the Michigan Watercolor Society. And it's an organization that's been around for 70-some years, founded out of a group of artists from Wayne State and the Scare Club, the DIA back in the heyday. And I said, you know, I want to give back to this organization when I can. So I joined the board 5 or 6 years ago, and now I'm president of it. And I guess the enthusiasm just came through too much, because now I'm doing a lot of things that I really don't have time for. But back to taking on new concepts. You know, if you look at the history of art, for example, Marcel Duchamp. Anyone familiar with him? Not many art history buffs here. Well, again, he was an artist, but what made him different? He got into something called found art. You know what that is? It's finding stuff, like a toilet or a urinal, flipping it upside down, signing his name to it, and is now art. He's done a lot of things, but he started a whole new trend of taking everyday objects. Picasso did it. He took something, flipped it over, and stuck it on a pole, and it was now a figure. Things like that. Roy Lichtenstein, Robert Motherwell, Mark Rothko. These guys did something that was really new at that time. It was called acrylic. It came out, was developed in the 40s. And they said, wow, I don't have to work with oil. I want to do big. I don't want to wait 3 weeks for it to dry. Acrylic dries really fast. It works like oil, but yet it works like watercolor. You can stain the canvas and things like that. So they were looking for new innovations. And my last example is Andy Warhol. Perfected silkscreen. Did a lot of silkscreens. He was into mass production as his main thing most of his career, of how things are being mass produced, like the Campbell soup can. These artists went looking for innovative new ways to create their art. And when I saw the folks at IMAGIO a couple years back, and I said, we started talking, and I showed them my work, and they said, you know, this could be a good marriage for us. And I was thinking the same way. I said, you know, here's a way for an artist like me. You know, you do a painting, for example, you do it once. If it's sold, you never see it again, unless you've digitized it, which I do, and it's over. But I remember going into museum bookstores or the gift shops, and what do you see? You see umbrellas that are Picasso designed. You see coffee cups that are a Monet. Every day, folks can have a piece of these artists through simple applications like a coffee cup or an umbrella. And bringing your work to the masses, and that's what I see happening here for me as an artist, is that I can take a design and it can be reproduced, used over and over again, whether it's a kitchen backsplash or a shower, or in some cases, we've done it as just a mural on the side, on a wall in some of these folks, in some of their homes. And the beauty of the technology that they have is I do this artwork once, it's done. I can't change it, I can't modify it. They have the technology to, for example, if a customer says, you know, I like that piece of work, but it's got too much orange for me, for my living room, for example, or my kitchen. They can modify the colors to tone it to the right temperature that they're looking for in the kitchen. Secondly, we've had examples where, you know, they like the artwork, for example, for a kitchen backsplash, but they said, you know, if I leave it the way it is, all the activity's down here on the counter, and that's where I put all my stuff. Let's flip it upside down, facing the other way, so I can see all this magic happening on the top part of the backsplash, and save the bottom part where it's pretty bland for all my coffee and utensils and all those kind of things. So the concept here is taking an example. We, my wife and I just built a home here in Ann Arbor, and we've been in there about 3 or 4 months, and she says, when are you getting to my backsplash? She says, I'm making a mess with the cooktop area. It's splashing from all the olive oil I have to cook for you, because you're Italian. And so I laid out a design. I went and measured all the wall panels. So I got paper cut, you know, 17 inches by 4 feet wide, 4 feet wide, in some smaller pieces, and then the big one around the counter, the cooktop. And I got it all done. I said, well, what do you think? And she says, you know, they're great as paintings, but I don't want to have to look at it at 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm trying to have coffee. She says, can you make it softer? Can you make it more relaxing? So that set of paintings, it was like 7 or 8 of them. I got them framed and I'm selling them. They're in galleries. And so when she says, you know, make it simple, well, it took 2 days of pour on poured color, let it bleed, and she said, that's what I want. So this is, I started to rework these. I didn't know I was going to need them again because, again, I didn't feel like they were finished paintings. But just to give you an idea, we have a sample of this as well. So this would be one of the panels, and the beauty of watercolor that I prefer over acrylic or oil. When you paint with acrylic or oil, whatever you do is exactly the way it stays. So no matter, and I don't always like what I do, but I like what happens when I pour on ink or I pour on watercolor to Arches watercolor paper, wet on wet, let it bleed, let it blend, let it create these crusty edges, let it drip, and it kind of fills the design in, but yet it's very organic. It doesn't feel manipulated, and just kind of creates these great effects. And this, like I said, it took me just a day or two to do this. It had to dry between layers, but real easy concept. And so what IMAGIO did, at least in this particular case, they took this section, which is right here, and before of course they didn't have after I had an extra drip, but and created this glass piece. And watercolor always has to be behind glass anyways, because it's on paper. It'll get messed up if you don't. It's not like oil or acrylic, even though I've mastered that too. But to see it come through the glass versus just on the paper, it picks up an extra dimension. The glass always created a dimension when it's under glass, but to see it in the glass with the process they use just creates a whole nother visual, if you will, on what can be done. And like I said, we had one, someone bought it, not this particular one, but they said, you know, I want it the other way around. And so what? We can do that.
The video?
Yes. So are we showing?
Shows the finished product.
So this is the last, this is this series that just got installed last week. I forgot to tell my wife that her kitchen now belongs to someone else. So we have the first one, And this is a new one they just installed
That's not my
last
kitchen.
week of the, I forget what it's called now,
Liquid morning.
but liquid morning brew, that's what I came up with. That's right. So this is another softer piece as well, that kind of went with that. And this is under our kitchen, our sink window, but real soft. Any questions?
Thank you.
That work?
It was awesome. It's beautiful.
I was really nervous.